Greetings, White Knights, 'tis I, Cerberus here, and today we are going to be playing some more Buried, an interactive story. I know it's been a while since we last played, but I've been very busy playing Sonic and making video game stuff. Fixing camera. There we go. Sorry about that. But we're getting back into it now, beginning chapter 4. I'm excited. I'm very excited. So last time, Amy almost died, and Marcus escaped because we did not kill him. The ride up the elevator is tense. I take a series of deep breaths, doing everything I can to stay in control. Amy has gotten back to her feet, but her head is pressed against the elevator wall as she suppresses a series of sobs. I find myself trying to remember the way those creatures looked, but my mind seems to shudder at the effort. I have seen something that is an impossibility, a mockery of what I know is real. This fills me with a terror that dwarfs anything else I have felt since discovering the facility. I try to focus my mind on something else and remember Marcus's threat. I wonder if we'll see Marcus again, I say, mostly to myself. Do you think Marcus got away from those things? Amy asks. Probably, or I sorta hope not. I sorta hope not. But at the same time, I don't want to make her think I'm a villain. No, I'm gonna go with what I feel. I sorta hope not, because I don't like Marcus. Me too, she says, looking at the ground, her arms folded. So, I say, how did you end up here? She gives a nervous chuckle and shrugs. I used to work with the Pentagon. It was some pretty upper echelon stuff that I still can't discuss. I assume this place is even more upper echelon. Is echelon or echelon? I don't even know. This place isn't even on the scale, she answers. My other job was a cakewalk compared to this. Then why stay, I ask. Because the money is ridiculous. I have a 13-year-old daughter already talking about Harvard. You do the math. Harvard, huh? That's ambitious. Or any other kids? I'm gonna ask if she has any other kids. Because saying it's ambitious is kind of rude. Like, I don't want it to seem like I'm saying, your child's ambitious, she'll never make it. Because that's just mean. I don't want to be mean. What am I, a jerk? No. I'm nice. No, just the one. Her dad split on us when she was 3. I never remarried, so no siblings for her. I may have only gotten one, but the one I got is amazing. Amy pauses before continuing softly. What if I never see? Her voice breaks off, the words too terrible to say. Her eyes filled with tears. The elevator comes to a stop, the slight ding of it interrupting the moment. Amy hastily wipes her eyes, and we waste no time in getting back inside the command center. Man, I always have trouble talking when playing this game. It's barely ever that I have this kind of trouble, but this game, for some reason, just messes with my head. I cannot speak. I ready the rifle, suddenly uncertain that there are more of those creatures waiting for us in the hallway of the second level. But the way is clear, allowing us to haul ass to the command center. Once again, I find myself staring at the screen that shows my ruined worksite. Okay, Amy says, typing commands rapidly. It can't be that hard. I keep peeking over my shoulder, my senses feeling as if the monsters are sneaking up on us, mere inches away. I then think of Dennis and wonder how he's faring back on level 3. Is he safe? I look back to the screens and see that Amy has finally found what she's looking for. A prompt on the screen says, override of hangar doors and all level 3 locks requires clearance code. Amy types in a number with shaking fingers and the screen goes black for a moment. The moment the words override confirmed come up on the screen, Amy jumps up from the chair and heads out of the room. We have to be quick, she says. We have exactly 20 minutes to open those hangar doors. What happens in 20 minutes? Or then let's get moving. What happens in 20 minutes is I'll probably relock, so let's get moving. I follow her out of the command center and bound back down the hallway towards the same elevator that brought us here. Amy punches the elevator button and the door slides open. We're taking the same elevator back to the biochem room, I ask. Those creatures are still down there. It's the only way back down. The other way is blocked by those hydraulic doors we pulled. Hopefully the creatures left. Hopefully. Neither of us say anything else as we share the same look of dread is what I was trying to say. We step back into the elevator and head back down to the biochem room on level 3. Dennis is probably dead. I'm gonna say that now. He's probably dead. And it sucks. Ugh. As the elevator doors open, we peer out, looking to see if the creatures are still in the area. But it's all clear. When Amy looks to me, her eyes are clear and strong. Marcus wasn't entirely wrong, Amy says as we start walking back towards the hangar doors. About what? I ask. About how I'm partially to blame for this? Why would you be to blame? Or you're right, you are. she's not to blame. She didn't know that the creatures could come out. She was doing her job. Some of the things we do here, it's scary. We should have known that one day something like this would happen. Everyone here with knowledge of what goes on in level 3 is to blame, she says. It's a highly advanced research facility, I say, doing amazing but risky stuff. So yeah, you're partially to blame just by working here, but I can understand the dedication. So why don't you tell me a bit more about what does go on in level 3, I ask. Are you familiar with the Large Hadron Collider over in Switzerland? I've heard the phrase, but that's about it, I say. It's a powerful particle accelerator, she explains. Right now, they're using it to try and create what's called dark matter. It's theorized that this dark matter actually makes up the majority of the universe, but parts of the universe very different from ours. My guess is the people at the LHC will probably create their first dark matter particle in about 2018 or 19. Here in this facility, we were able to create one almost 10 years ago. It was the key to our research. What does this have to do with those... Does this have something to do with those things, or what does this matter do? It obviously has something to do with those things, but I'm curious about what it does. Like, why they're looking at it. We use dark matter to assist with instantaneous transfer of a subject, but we have yet to perfect it or understand why it works. So you're saying it lets you get access to different dimensions, I ask. That's the theory, she says. During the point-to-point transfer, the subjects are gone for about 3 to 6 seconds. There's no way to see or measure their presence, but they exist somewhere. From what we can tell, they exist in a kind of void. What is that place like? Or have you done this with people? What is that place like? It's a void. It's got nothing in it. That's what a void is. Have you done this with people, is my question. We have sent human subjects through. Almost all of them have returned successfully. I make an involuntary grimace. Almost. There was one man, Dr. Kana, who didn't return. We don't know where. She trails off, taking a moment to collect herself. Sorry I asked, I say, feeling my mind start to bend inward again. As we continue to walk between the silos, we walk past the area where we left Marcus behind. But he's long gone. Maybe he found a way out. I realize that we're walking very close together between the silos, perhaps trying to create the illusion of safety. We reach the exit connecting to the hangar doors, where Dennis hopefully still is. My guts clench and my heart hammers in my chest as we open the door and walk through. I lift the rifle, but at first it seems that there's nothing waiting for us. And that's when I see the glowing, hulking shape to my left, closing in fast. Continue. Glowing, hulking shape. Not good. I wonder if it's human or monster. Because I don't know. The creature is about 10 feet away and coming in quickly, so I do the first thing that comes to mind. I drop to the ground, making myself a smaller target, and raise the rifle. I'm not sure if I should just unload on the bastard or try to be choosy with my shots and weaken it, or at least slow it down. Shoot to weaken or shoot to kill? Shoot to kill! The beast is less than a foot away from me when I start firing rapidly. I'm not sure which is louder, the gunshot or the high-pitched screeching as the creature staggers. With that, it seems to turn and jerk away, parts of it appearing and disappearing every few feet, and moves down the hall and out of sight. Apparently, even several rounds of bullets are only enough to slow these things down. I look quickly around for others, but there's only Amy. She looks at where the monster went with wide eyes. Her face is pale, and I wonder if, like me, she is able to feel her mind trying to retreat. You okay? Or get moving. I want to ask if she's okay, but at the same time, we gotta freaking go. Ask. I'm gonna ask. Yes, Amy says, I'm fine. But if she feels anything like I feel, I don't believe her. Sorry, Mike. Come on, I say, let's find Dennis and get through these hangar doors. Amy glances at her watch and nods. We're already down to 6 minutes. Wow, that was a long elevator ride. We turn towards the hangar doors, and I'm a little disgusted with myself, because the bloody scene that so shocked me before now seems mild. Amy goes to work on the computer console on the side of the doors. She starts punching in keys before saying, this is going to take some time. I thought you already unlocked it, I say. I did, she says, but for this door, there's still security permissions I need to hack. Marcus would have known how to do this, but she trails off, and I decide to let her work. Suddenly, something slams into me. I feel my feet leave the floor, and I'm literally thrown across the concrete. I look up in time to see one of the creatures. It's apparently in no hurry to attack me, again, focusing on Amy instead. She's not armed. I need to come up with a plan to get this thing away from her so she can focus on getting the door open. It raises one of its flickering appendages, making me certain that part of its makeup is pure light and energy. I could easily take a shot with my rifle, but my mind again goes to how much remaining ammo I have. The only other thing I can think of is to get it to chase me and lead it away from this room. Somewhere. Distract the monster and run, or shoot the monster? If I distract the monster and run, I'm gonna freaking die. But if I shoot the monster, I will have no bullets for later. And I might escape if I run. I'm running. I'm doing it. Distract the monster and run. Hey, I yell right here. Come get me. I'm the one that shot your buddy. It turns to me, and I'm again faced with staring at something that has no business in this world, in this reality. Its body gives off a sort of glow around the central part, a bulbous core that is branched off into two humps, very much like a spider. Again, I sense that this visual information is not accurate, but it's the best my simple mind can do to make sense of this impossible creature. It starts lurching towards me and lets out a shriek of agony that makes my ears feel like they'll explode. Now that I'm sure it's coming after me, I take off running and head into another hallway we haven't been down. I find myself in an industrial-looking area, and am pleased to find that the monster has followed me through. Continue. I don't think I'd be pleased about that, but at the same time, it's kind of what I was going for. Ugh. The room seems to be an assortment of old pipes and tanks. I assume some of them run further down into other areas of the facility. With the creature on my tail, I dash into the maze of metal, hoping to lose it. It's definitely having a harder time squeezing through than I am, and that slows it down. Of course, the room's not a cage of any kind. The thing is still heading towards me, shredding through the pipes as it rages. I notice that sometimes it's breaking the steel girders, but other times it seems like it's somehow merging or changing them. Pipes that were separate are now connected together in a way that makes my head hurt. I finally get a good amount of distance between myself and the creature. I think it's lost my trail. I need to get back to those hangar doors. There's not much time before they close shut. But if I make a sound, that creature could be on my heels again. Hide and escape quietly, or run as fast as you can. Hide and escape quietly. The hangar doors are probably going to close before I get there, but I don't care. I take care to stay silent, twisting myself through some more pipes and making my way back towards the door I entered through. The creature doesn't seem to pick up on this. I see it's glowing back as I come around. It lets out a static scream that makes my insides feel like jelly. But I don't even look back. I slide quietly through the rusted obstacle course and tiptoe back to the hangar doors. That's pretty neat. I burst back into the large room and see Amy still working on the computer terminal by the hangar doors. You okay? I ask her. I can clearly see her battling for control of her faculties. Steel determination wins out, and she gives a grim nod. Any sign of where Dennis went? I ask, hoping she hasn't noticed his body somewhere. No, she replies. It's then that I realize I have no idea how many rounds I have remaining in the rifle. This isn't a model I'm familiar with. Outside of some deer hunting, I'm not much of an expert on firearms. Still, I am able to locate the chamber easily and see that there are 4 rounds left. Not great, but it could be worse. How are we on time? I ask her. 2 minutes. I'm going as fast as I can, she says. Amy does her best to focus on the keyboard, but there's still no sign of Dennis. Before I have time to look around, a screeching sound erupts from the other end of the room. Ugh! I bring up the rifle in a shooter stance and turn around. With the hangar doors right behind me, no signs of Dennis, and a closing window of time, I have to be confident. Yet when 2 monsters come around the corner, my body wants to shut down. The appendages seem to jump in time and space, reaching out for a split second, independent of the body, and then disappearing back to where they came from. It turns and screeches at me, its glowing tentacles shaking out of its body. My knees tremble uncontrollably. Behind me, Amy shrieks. I feel myself losing control, my mind sliding into the abyss of insanity. I pull myself back from the brink. I've got to stay in control. Turn away or shoot them. I gotta shoot them. I can't just look away. I step away from Amy and the hangar doors and turn towards the monster, ready to defend her. I ready my rifle, but the creature wastes no time. It makes that jerky motion towards me, and there's a sharp pain in my chest as it collides with me. Or through me. It's hard to tell. My instinct is to try to grapple or hold this thing down, but then I realize I don't even know if that'll work. Try to get away or try to grab the creature. Bullets don't even stop it. My hands aren't going to do nothing. I figure I'd rather not try to learn anything more about the physical nature of this thing right now. I tuck and roll away from it, then stand up to face it. With a scream of defiance, I raise the rifle and put a round in its core. The shot lands dead center, and the light inside of it flickers almost violently. It falls back against the wall, issuing a hiss of its telltale static noise, then jerks away and retreats, at least for now. Another terror appears, as if out of nowhere, screaming at me with its high-pitched whine. It bounced forward, charging in its strange, spastic way. I aim the rifle, intended to take this one in the core, too. I take several shots, but it's still coming at me. As it slams into me, I realize that I only have 1 bullet left. On contact, the wind is knocked out of my lungs, and the back of my head strikes the floor. but neither of these things is as alarming as the fact that the beast on top of me. Its exterior is like a seashell that has been pounded by the surf for so long that it has lost all edges and ridges, but the grip it tries to capture me with is pure violence. I feel those light-soaked appendages start to wrap around me. I raise the rifle, knowing I still have one shot left. The weight of the monster is erratic. One moment I feel weightless, another I feel like I'm going to be crushed. I push upwards with the rifle to aim, but it is overpowering me. I'm not sure I'd be able to get an effective shot off. I see the core of its body, a spider-like shape connected to the rest of it by thin white strings of tissue. I know I'll be dead within seconds unless I can manage a shot, but I don't know where to aim. This thing has already survived for so long. Shoot for the center or shoot for the tentacles? Probably the center. I don't think the tentacles would do anything. The creature is seconds away from tearing into my shoulder. I have to stop it now. I grunt as I try to angle the rifle in the direction of the beast's formless core. The appendages begin tugging down on the barrel, and it's at that moment that I pull the trigger, unleashing my final shot. Thank God I saved this bullet earlier. The shot aggravates it, enough to win me some breathing room. I've saved my shoulder, but this thing's still alive and kicking. But then I see the creature extend its tentacles in a violent whip-like motion away from me, while it makes that static, screeching sound. The creature disappears into thin air and reappears a few feet from me, retreating. With a shudder and a cry of desperation, I get to my feet, just in time to see the monster head in the direction of the biochem room. Amy looks at me from her terminal at the hangar doors, looking petrified. I manage to help myself up when I see another figure nearing us, but to my relief, I realize it's a human figure, Dennis, with a gun. "You okay, boss?" he asks, but his eyes aren't on me. They're looking to the creature, trying to understand exactly what he's just seen. "About 15 minutes ago, I heard the door to that maintenance room unlocked," Dennis says, pointing to the room I tried to bust my way into earlier. "Ah," Amy says, "when I did the override code up in the command center, it unlocked all small doors down here, including that maintenance room." "I went inside there and hid," Dennis continues, "and while I was waiting for you to come back, I found a massive trunk. There were a few guns in it, so I grabbed this one," he says, patting his shotgun. "I'm glad you're safe, Dennis. I'm glad you found some weapons." "Safety! Safety first! Dennis is more important than some stupid guns." "Thanks, boss," he says. "Me too." She doesn't break eye contact with the panel. "Almost done," she replies. Suddenly, without warning, a shot ricochets off the wall behind Amy's head. Startled, we look around, confused. Did Dennis's gun go off? "It's Marcus!" When another shot blasts near us again, we all drop to the floor. I look around, wondering who or what could possibly be shooting at us. Those creatures don't do anything that sounds remotely like gunfire. And then I see him. Marcus. I should have killed him when I had the chance. He has a rifle and is walking towards us, an insane look in his eyes. "You all deserve to die!" he screams, unleashing another round that I hear whiz by my head. Dennis doesn't hesitate. He stands up and shoots at Marcus, causing him to retreat. "How much longer, Amy, or open that damn door?" "How much longer?" "Not mean! I'm nice!" "Almost there," she says quietly. She makes a few final key presses and says, "Done." The doors open with the noise of hydraulics and a whoosh of air. With Marcus pinned down by Dennis's gunfire, we start moving towards the doors. And at that moment, another creature jerks into existence around the corner, between us and Marcus. "Crap!" Marcus says and starts unloading into it, but then he learns the same lesson we did. This only slows the creature down. Marcus gives us one last look and then turns and runs off in another direction. Dennis, Amy, and I climb up and head through the doors, moving on nothing more than adrenaline. I see her looking longingly at the maintenance room Dennis took the shotgun from. "You get into the hangar," Dennis says. "I'll get some more firepower." Satisfied with the plan, Amy heads through the door. We scramble inside, finally inside the hangar. Dennis approaches from behind, holding several guns and looking like a kid who grabbed an armful of Halloween candy. Amy reaches out for a 9mm with one hand. Dennis turns to me and holds out a shotgun and a handgun for me to choose from. Both look deadly. The shotgun looks more powerful, but the handgun will probably be more precise. You know, in FPSs I usually use handguns more than shotguns, so handgun for me. You took the handgun. I select the handgun and am comforted by the way it seems to fit perfectly in my shaky grip. There are more creatures coming, as many as a dozen. They are floating down the hall quickly, their tentacles slithering. The way their light seems to mingle together is almost beautiful. "Close the door!" I yell at Amy. She dashes to another terminal mounted on the inside of the hangar doors and tries desperately to close them. "It's not working," she says with tears in her eyes. "This terminal is disabled." Dennis looks through the open doors, readying himself to shoot the first monster that nears us. "Should we try to slow down a few, or just run for it?" he asks, his gun at the ready. "Fire away, or let's run for it?" "Let's run for it!" they don't die from shooting, and if we run, it's the same thing. Good idea, says Amy. With that, we turn around and sprint out into the hangar floor. Onto the hangar floor. Sorry. The room is enormous, so large that to call it a room seems silly. A large concrete floor stretches out below an expansive lofted ceiling. The area is mostly empty, except for one side which has rows and rows and rows of metal barrels. Back on the far wall is a lit area that seems to expose more rooms, labs, and machinery. Also in the rear of the hangar, I can see some kind of chamber or control center. Dennis and I follow Amy across the hangar floor. Behind us, a series of rough, slithering sounds tells us that the creatures have made their way into the hangar. From somewhere up ahead, a loud buzzing noise sounds out. It reminds me of the slight buzzing noise I'd heard in the forest, the noise that I've tried to avoid. I look ahead and see that in the far back of the hangar, a bright red light is flashing. There's a small hatch or door below the light. That hatch is open, and I can see a shape inside it. I can barely make out the figure of a man standing there, holding an industrial microphone, and as soon as I see him, I hear his huge, amplified voice. It blares down over an intercom system, and he sounds pissed. I don't know who the hell you are, he says, but this is a government facility on lockdown, and there are protocols to— Crap! I assume the curse coincides with the exact moment he sees the creatures. They are making their way through the hangar doors. There are maybe 20 feet between us and the creatures. I act instinctively, firing twice as the handgun comes alive in my hands. One shot goes into the core of one monster, causing it to jerk backwards. Another shot slows down another. The accuracy I get with the 9mm is amazing. Amy and Dennis take the cue and start firing as well. The floor becomes littered with a swirling white fluid from the wounded creatures' bodies, but they're not slowing down. The alarm keeps shrieking behind us, and when I turn to see if anything has changed back there, I trip over my feet. I hit the ground hard, and in almost a comic fashion, I slide several feet across the floor. From the ground, I see that we've managed to turn back 4 of them, but I also see that my estimate of a dozen is off. There are at least 20 of them. They're sick, dim light, sinister, and gloomy. Their appendages seem to bind together as they come forward. My only hope of survival is that the man in the far doorway has somehow shut the hangar doors. His voice comes blaring over the intercom again, broken by the booming noise of the gunfire that we're laying down. Run here, towards the isolation chamber! I'm not sure how much time we have, but I realize that I can sprint ahead of Amy and Dennis, or I can hang back and give them cover. Run or keep shooting to cover the others. Keep shooting. Self-sacrifice. I want to keep my friends safe. Go inside where that guy is, I say. I'll make sure we don't have any of those things right on our tails. I'll hold him back for a while. I know it sounds macho, but it also feels like the right thing to do. I have to at least try to give us some kind of chance for escape. So as Amy and Dennis run through the doors, I blast at the next thing that I see moving. All I get for my troubles is that static-like hiss and a high-pitched whistling noise. I'm able to beat them back a bit, forcing them to scatter. Each flicker of light is a small victory. If nothing else, I'm buying Amy and Dennis time. When I'm certain there's nothing more I can do, I turn and run. I hustle quickly, catching up to Amy and Dennis, who stop and turn to provide me with cover fire. There, Amy says, pointing to the small door where the man was standing earlier. The swarm is less than 15 feet away now, so furious that they're pushing through one another to get to us. I raise the handgun and fire, taking my time to aim. I hit one on the spider-like part of its body. I fire again, this time taking one in the core. I place 2 more rounds into this creature, eventually causing it to move backwards. We're in the middle of the hangar floor now, with the isolation chamber ahead and the monsters behind. Beside me, Dennis also fires. The kick of the gun jolts him, probably a result of him being weakened from the blood loss. His shot lands true, though, causing a jerking stumble and a flickering of its light. We're almost in, Amy yells as we get close to the door we hope will save us. Dash inside or tell Dennis and Amy to go in first. Macho! Get inside, I tell Amy and Dennis, motioning for them to get moving with my gun. I open the door and give Dennis a push towards it. He resists, more eager to try taking down another of the beasts before he makes it to safety, but he eventually gives in. I wait a beat to make sure Amy is inside too. Not again! I wait a beat to make sure Amy is inside too. I fire off a few rounds on the creatures that are still headed for us, hoping to slow them down. When Amy and Dennis clear the door, I nearly dash inside, but then I feel something hot seep into my back. Roger! Dennis yells. The pain in my back is so immense that I barely notice the fact that I'm being lifted from the floor. I look down and see that one of the creatures is using its flowing arms to grab me by my waist, its tentacles wrapping around me. It lifts me into the air, as if presenting me as a trophy to its friends. I try to focus, attempting to angle my arm in a way that will allow me to aim the handgun and place a bullet in its body. But it's shaking me violently, and its body parts are appearing and disappearing in a way that makes no sense, another oddity of its structure. I can literally do nothing more than hang there like a rag doll, hoping to be saved. As it continues to hoist me up, screeching its approval, Dennis comes back out of the room and fires off a shot. The bullet catches the monster on the underside of its core, sending it backwards and causing it to freeze for a moment. It releases me, and I hit the ground, dropping my gun, and again finding myself unable to breathe. I feel slightly dizzy, but that fades when I see Dennis is still standing outside the door. He's firing into the beast like a madman and doesn't see the one to his left coming in along the edge of the wall. Dennis, look out or push him out of the way. Push him out of the way! I try to dash forwards Dennis, pushing him out of the way, but there's not enough time. The creature jerks out of existence and then reappears right behind him. By the time Dennis turns and sees the creature coming, it's already drawn several of its appendages back to strike. Dennis tries to raise his gun, but it's knocked away by one of the tentacles. A second tentacle strikes Dennis, and Dennis is spun around and thrown off balance by the attack, and he catches himself before falling. A third tentacle wraps around his forearm, and I can see it squeeze, tightening instantly. The tip of the appendage passed cleanly through his hand, its blood-soaked tip pointing out through the palm. Dennis's face grimaces with pain as he tries to wrench his arm free, but the creature's tentacle has his hand speared like a nail through wood. In a moment of dark clarity, I realize that I can free him with a clean shot at the monster's tentacle, but it will likely mean blowing Dennis's hand off. "Dennis!" I yell over the creature's high-pitched static sound. "Can you get free? I have a shot! Maybe." "No," Dennis gasps as the creature tosses him around by his hand like a puppet. "Don't shoot! I can get free!" I can't tell if he's right, but the other monsters start starting to encircle him. I need to act fast. Wait for Dennis to get away or shoot off his hand. Why? Why is this a choice? If I wait for him to get away, he could just die, but if I shoot off his hand, he won't have a hand! Ugh!
Hello, darkness, my old friend. I've come to talk with you again. Because a vision softly creeping left its seeds while I was sleeping.
You decide to take Dennis's hand to save him. If I don't take the shot while I have it, they're gonna kill him. In a last-ditch effort, I try getting a good shot on the monster, but there is none. I'll hurt Dennis even worse if I try. I take aim and fire off a shot. The shot lands perfectly and results in a lot of blood and screams from both Dennis and the creature. Dennis's hand disappears into a spray of red, and the monster's appendage simply fades away. It literally seems to wink out of existence. The creature screeches while Dennis hits the floor, wailing in pain. The reality of what I'd done set in and nearly paralyzes me. "Get him," Amy says. "I'll cover you." I nod, still reeling from the sight of what I've done to Dennis. I stumble out of the door. Amy is true to her word. She fires off a few rounds into the approaching monsters as I make it to Dennis. I grab a hold of him with my good arm. I drag him backwards as fast as I can, nearly falling down in the process. When I reach the doorway, Amy reaches down and helps me drag his body the final few feet into the room. She manages to pull off another shot, and when I look to see what she's hit, I see another dozen or so of the monsters. Dennis is writhing in pain, and when he looks up to me, he's sneering. "You crazy asshole!" he screams. He shudders violently, sweat and tears coursing down his pale face. Amy slams the door behind us. Finally, we're inside the room, hopefully safe within what looks to be an isolation chamber of sorts. By the way, I'm sorry for Dennis's voice. I cannot do a deep voice at freaking all. Do you hear how freaking high-pitched my voice is?
It's so high.
I cannot do a deep voice, and I feel like that guy deserves a deep voice, but I can't do it. So I'm sorry. I'll get better as I do it more. Amy slams the door behind us. Oh wait, along the frame, a little electrical lock beeps as the door is secured. End of chapter 4. That was a really good chapter, actually. I really liked that chapter. Self-control. You and 51% of players shot to kill the creature instead of just weaken it. Keep them at bay. You and 41% of players distracted the creature instead of shooting it. That was a good choice. Weapon of choice. You and 57% of players took the handgun instead of the shotgun. Judgment call. You and 57% of players disobeyed Dennis's wishes not to shoot, causing him to lose his hand. That was an actually really hard choice. Because if you make him lose his hand, he might survive. He has a better chance of survival. If you don't take the hand, if he escapes, he has his hand still. But I don't know. That was a very hard choice for me. I don't know why. It might not have been hard for you guys, but it was hard for me. That was a really good chapter. I loved that one. That was fun. So anyway, that's all for this episode then. This chapter is done. So thank you guys for watching, and I'm recording the next episode right now, so it'll come out in the next few days. Thank you guys for watching this episode. A lot of fun. Be ready for the next episode, because it's going to be a climactic conclusion. So, farewell.